Obviously, a lot of eyes on Arteta and his goalkeeper selection. This is what he said about sticking by Kepa.
Choice of goalkeeper. What was your thinking, and how do you see that performance weekend?
I understand that, but I have to do what I feel is right, which is honest and which is fair. And I think we have an outstanding keeper on Kepa. He's played all the competition, and I think it would have been very, very unfair for him and for the team to do something different.
Frank Leboeuf joins us. Should we start with the goalkeeper? Should we start with Arsenal? Start with Manchester City?
Well, I don't really have a problem with the goalkeeper, and everybody's got a different opinion because, you know, and a different view on it. But Man City did the same thing. Klopp did it with Liverpool with Kelleher. So a lot of teams do this to try and keep players happy. And he made mistakes, right? I have a huge issue with Arsenal. Not so much the goalie, who's their second string goalie by a stretch. And as well as City played, and we'll get to them, we have the best team in England, the best squad in England, and debatably could be the best team in Europe. Well, certainly doesn't look like it in the last few weeks. But they're in pole position for the Champions League and the Premier League and possibly the FA Cup. And yet they played football, apart from that first 10 minutes, and apart from the end when they were desperate and chasing the game and throwing subs on, that hour in between was a shocker. An absolute how can a team with the talent levels that Arsenal have play football that would have got Jose Mourinho slaughtered, Antonio Conte slaughtered for parking the bus? They barely get out their own half of their own penalty area. When those two City goals came in, they hadn't had a touch in the ball. They hadn't been in City's half. They had 11 men behind the ball. They were so negative. I thought it was embarrassing for a team of that talent level. Against, by the way, this is not Man City of whatever year when they were the juggernaut, rolling over, 2 or 3 years rolling everybody over. You know, favourites to win the Champions League, winning all those Premier League. This isn't that City side. And for Arsenal to approach the game like that, honestly, I thought it was, and it made for a terrible spectacle. But I could not believe they looked to me like a team that were in the bottom three, trying to defend against a team that were top of the league and the best team in the country. It was an. I'm sorry, the keeper's a smokescreen for me. That performance, that approach to a cup final when you're the favourites and you have that talent level was an absolute disgrace.
It's kind of worrying how flat they were after that initial, from the kick-off.
Yeah, that's going to be my question. First 10 minutes, there's only one team in this.
Aye.
So what changed?
Well, City settled down. City hadn't exactly been at their best either. So yeah, Arsenal started better, but then City settled down after about 25 minutes, and then after that Arsenal went in it. And you have to be worried if you're Arsenal. I mean, to be so flat. The biggest thing for me is you're in a cup final. It's the second half. You're behind, and it's one thing to start off by getting men behind the ball, but then you have to go and close the ball. Then you have to try and close people down. Nobody closed anybody down. It was almost like they were quite happy to just sit and let Man City have the ball. And you're getting beaten in a cup final. So the front three were absolutely invisible again. And that's been the last, 2-3 weeks? There just seems to be no imagination in this team. And then, to what you started with, 100% wrong decision. You play your best goalkeeper, it's a cup final, and guess what? Yeah. Professional football is not about being fair. Professional football is about winning. Yeah. Not participating in the final, winning the final. And talking about how it wasn't fair to him and it wasn't fair on the other players. How's it not fair on the other players? Oh, guess what? The other players don't have a winner's medal because you played the reserve goalkeeper who wasn't ready for it, because the mistakes that we showed that he wasn't ready for it. So, yeah, it's got nothing to do with being fair. It's about being professional.
But they're all doing it. Donnarumma was on the bench.
Doesn't make it right, though.
Klopp did it with Kelleher.
Doesn't make it right.
Other managers have done it. It's a strategy that they use to allow players to remain relatively match sharp and not a problem in the dressing room. I get it. You want to play your best team.
Yeah.
But for me, that's honestly, there's a bigger picture here, and Kepa wouldn't have had to have been called. All right, and he was, and he's a keeper, and that's his job. But he shouldn't have even been in those scenarios if Arsenal hadn't have played as defensive, as boring and as deep as they did.
Yeah.
Arsenal playing like that in a cup final with this team, this squad that they have, I mean, it's quite incredible.
Arsenal embarrassing, Frank, do you agree?
They were, even if I think that before Kepa's mistake, defensively, they were doing the job. I found Saliba and Gabriel at the top of their football, and defensively there was nothing to say. I mean, what changed for me the second half is because of Guardiola. He asked his players to play, to be a little bit more forward, higher on the field, play on the counter-attack. Well, no, sorry, counter-pressing. And so they were, you know, inside the Arsenal half. And it's only because Kepa made that mistake that Arsenal got in danger. They were defending quite well. Yes, they were attacking, they were lacking of ideas when they had the ball. But defensively, I found Arsenal very quiet, very okay. I mean, sorry, and so I wasn't bored by the fact that they weren't playing. We know Arsenal. Sometimes they have a hard time, you know, to kick on, and that's what we saw the beginning of the second half, and because mostly of Guardiola a change of tactic. But again, for me, the key factor was Kepa superstar. I mean, the guy made a big mistake and he changed everything. And I was pretty sure that Arsenal could have held that pressure if Kepa wouldn't have made that mistake. I mean, again, I was totally with Stevie. It's not a charity; it's a professional world. And Craig, you know, and I know your mate, you know, Kevin Hitchcock was the #2 at Chelsea, and he stayed on the bench. He never played like that. We never did that. The coach was trying to put the best goalkeeper, the best defender, the best whatever, you know, according to what he thinks. But we had one goalkeeper, and we knew that goalkeeper was the #1. And it wasn't because he wasn't happy. The second one could play the charity, the Carabao Cup or whatever it was at the time. No, that's not that world. Doesn't belong to that world. And if all coaches are doing that, I'm sorry, they're all wrong. Because, and we saw that so many times, goalkeepers are fragile and they need stabilities. And I'm sorry, that was a mistake from Arteta, like it was a mistake from Guardiola to put Trafford because he wasn't ready. I mean, he did well, very well, he was lucky, but that's not, for me, professional.
But you don't, but the two things can go hand in hand. And I mean this, they defended like a team that, well, they approached the game for long periods like a team that didn't even think they could win the game. I mean, I thought, honestly, whatever the team selection you want to talk about.
That's not the first time we've heard those accusations thrown at Arsenal. Have they got into that mindset now where they can't get out of it almost? We saw them away against Bayer Leverkusen. We've seen games in the Premier League where it's just scraping by, just getting by.
They've lost that dynamic energy where you used to watch them and the opposing teams couldn't even get out their half. They were pressing, they were because they knew they had a good back four, a really good back four, so they could squeeze the game. And they really throttled the life out of opponents. Right? And then they would win the ball back high up and they'd start again.
It's predictable.
It's part of the boss football.
It's predictable.
I mean, and listen, it's probably going to be good enough to win the Premier League, probably. But it's gone from this winning it high up, pressing teams, putting so much pressure on the opposition that they won it in great areas and all of a sudden they're on the front foot, to getting 11 men behind the ball. When you get 11 men behind the ball for long periods, which they did in the second half, at the start of the second half, long periods, then what's going to happen with teams like City? People like Cherky and others, they're going to find these little spaces and they're going to prod and poke and put balls in the box, and your goalkeeper's going to be under more pressure because you're sitting right on top of them. But you're the better side, and yet you're sitting allowed. And listen, City passed it quite well, but we've seen City, when they're pressurised this season, cough the ball up. Rodri hasn't always been as clean on the ball. Bernardo Silva hasn't always been as clean with his passing. But when you give players that amount of space and time to go and prod and pick a pass, then that's what they did.
They made it too easy for City, didn't it?
It was embarrassing.
When you know that City's biggest weakness is getting caught on the counter-attack, you need to have a spark. And there's nothing wrong at times sitting behind the ball. Every team's done it. There's nothing wrong with that. But when you get a chance of getting it, and then when you do get it, there has to be a spark, and there has to be. You have to make the opposition somewhat not frightened, but cautious, because they know that you're going to get after them. That was completely not. There was nothing.
Why?
They looked flat. They looked as though they had no legs.
But it's a cup final. You know your opponents are going to come. You know it's a proper opponent. It's a proper game.
It's not a good sign. I played in the cup final. We played Wimbledon and we got beat 1-0 by a team we should have murdered. And it wasn't until after the game we were talking. We were actually all in the same boat. We started talking about how we had nothing in our legs. Right. Now, if that is what this problem is, it's either overcoaching or they're running out of juice. If they're running out of juice, you can forget the treble now, never mind what used to be the quadruple.
Let's talk about the champions, shall we? What impressed you from Manchester City today, Frank?
The fact that they were able to cope with the situation, because I think, I don't know if it's Stevie or Craig will say that, but the first half an hour, Arsenal were better, and it's only maybe at the end of the first half, and especially the second half, where they started to work together and to be very high on the field and on the counter-pressing, that they were very, very effective. Of course, you have to name Doku and Cherki on the side, Bernardo Silva working so hard, and you have Rodri. I think Rodri lost one pass, today, and you have to mention O'Reilly. I mean, he was opportunist in his position and scored 2 goals at 20 years old. I mean, that's absolutely fantastic. But everybody was spot on, I would say. Trafford made 3 great saves at the beginning of the game and was everywhere. But really, I think that was a common move that they made, and that's because of Pep Guardiola. I'm pretty sure it doesn't happen like that. You have to have in your mind, say, okay, we have to change. It's not working. If we carry on like that, we're gonna be conceding goal. And we have to move. We have to move forward and try to be challenging the opponent. And it's what they did. And Arsenal, offensively, didn't exist at all.
City always, City passed it better than Arsenal, but they were camped in Arsenal's half, and there was no real pressure. Really, Rodri and Bernardo Silva and Cherki, even I didn't like Cherki doing what he was doing in the second half, to be honest. But that's kind of how it felt. I think that was a resemblance of how that game was going. That he felt he could, whether we agree with it or not, that showcasing that and showing off. But that's kind of how the game was going to Man City. It was almost like somebody going to make a tackle. And City always look good when they don't have to defend for long periods, because that's their weakness.
Yeah.
So when you don't ask, and so they asked a couple of questions early on and a couple of questions late on when Calafiori, and they made some subs because they were desperate at that point, and City dropped off a little bit. But that hour in between, when City didn't have to do a lot of defending, that's when they're at their best, because they don't have to worry about their Achilles heel. They can go and do what they do and play and pass the ball. And let's be honest, Arsenal let them do that.
They've won 9 League Cup now. Manchester City, Pep Guardiola has won 5 of them. They're just one off. How many did you win, Stevie? Do you remember?
I missed a couple of finals with injury, but yeah, we won. I think we won 4 in the 80s.
He was asking about Liverpool. Not you.
Yeah. 10 now. Manchester City then on 9.